Welcome to the Moon and You podcast. My name is Susan Hart. Today we are talking about the full moon in Virgo, and the theme is about perfectionism. But first, in the spirit of reconciliation, the Moon and You acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people today. When things don't go your way, do you get frustrated and angry and try to smash through the obstacles? Do you push on until something or someone breaks? Or do you simply move on and allow the universe to present another way? I love this quote by Wintersteen. When we try to control the outcome of every situation life presents, we undoubtedly fall and fail at times. Because life isn't meant to be controlled. It's meant to be lived. I confess, I've had my dark moments of control and frustration. I've had to strive for many years in business to gain clients, employ staff, and to show up to business networking events to effectively keep the gravy train flowing. I became fearful when clients left me, and if the phone didn't ring or even if staff took holidays, I wasn't living. I was in a constant state of fear and control. Over the years, I fell into bad habits, and it's only now that I'm able to unravel myself, forgive my hardness, and simply be. If you too feel the need to control everything in your life, why not rest a while during this full moon in Virgo? Give away negative perfectionism, which is unremitting and compulsive behaviour in the process of striving to meet your goals. Embrace a softer version of perfectionism. Do the best you can, pivot when required, and let go of any actions that create anger and frustration within. I'm so excited to have with me today my beautiful friend Kerry Hurricane, who has been by my side for how many years now? 4 years?
120.
Oh, yes. Physically, yes. But in the Moon and You, we've been doing this. I think that we just love doing it. I think it's just one of our secret loves.
Yes, it is.
So today we're talking, Kerry, as I mentioned at the beginning, the full moon in Virgo, and I have some questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so the first question is, how does the full moon amplify the Virgo energy?
Okay, great question.
Thank you.
Because it's impossible to isolate one thing in these events, and it's good that we're going to look at this in a little bit more depth within your question. So the full moon in Virgo is completely illuminated by the sun's light and energy, as they are completely opposite together. They're 180 degrees apart. And this will animate that area of your life that this event is transiting in your astrological wheel. So Virgo's energy, it relates to things like improving, adjusting, refining, practicality, your health, your job, which is one way that we even serve society, which is also part of the Virgo archetype. And the full moon is actually the climax of the sun-moon cycle. Therefore, it brings things to a critical point, a crunch, a crisis, a culmination. We reach a crossroad or a turning point. So this is why the full moon relates to completions and closures. It's releasing and letting go as the energy starts to begin its waning phase till the sun and the moon are together again in the new phase for a new cycle to begin. So we are always experiencing, endings and beginnings, developing, growing and evolving to higher levels in an ascension process, and that's part of the astrology that I look at. So it's actually an ideal time to work through any blocked energy that is difficult to shift, or that prevents you from moving forward. And this brings attention to that letting go of bad or destructive behavioural patterns that no longer serve you. And this can even include a separation or a distancing from certain people. Family members are a little bit more difficult, but we can find our way if that's what needs to be done. And full moons illuminate dark places, and it sheds light on what is hidden, things like secrets, lies, etc. And we can work through this energy to bring closure and let go what keeps us stuck emotionally so we can keep moving forward. And I guess in just to end just this, the idea of astrology is to look for the highest expression of these energies, and that can mean we experience challenges and difficulty in our life, but these things are always they're necessary for our development and evolution, and there's this energy that is always supporting us.
The next question is, how can we align ourselves with the high vibrational energies of Virgo, and what would you consider Virgo's high vibrational qualities to be?
Okay, great question again. So Virgo in itself gives great support, but we first need to know what the energies of Virgo are. And generally we need to look at the healthy and the shadow side of Virgo to be more aware of them. So I'll be very general. So these are only general descriptions, but they'll give a lot of information. So on the healthy side, Virgo relates to fine-tuning, adjusting to continually improve. It's about health and healing, analysing, practical skills, daily routines, work, processes and discernment. In other words, knowing what to keep that is useful and beneficial to us and what to discard that is useless and detrimental to us. And it also includes service to others. So on the shadow side, Virgo relates to criticism. It's the perfectionist, pessimism, guilt, big with Virgo, doubt, inferiority, unworthiness. We can feel persecuted and even self-sacrifice, masochism in the extreme, and sadomasochism as well. So in the most distorted and extreme concepts, we can have things like, I must suffer, I must be punished, I deserve pain and I don't know why, and I must somehow be hurt before my needs are met. And this is in the extreme distortions. Now, to align with higher vibrations, it's firstly, it's to be aware and conscious of the shadow and examine and do some analysing on what thoughts and emotions you are experiencing that are either beneficial or detrimental to you. So if detrimental, your ego is involved and you'll be resisting something. Therefore, you are being called to investigate with self-examination to shift that blockage, free your energy, and be at peace with yourself again. Virgo is a mutable earth sign, meaning you have to be involved to engage your intellect and emotions, or your mind, in other words. Once you feel that emotional blockage leave you, it is easier to engage with higher emotions of things like relief, hope, appreciation, and even joy, because you've been... It's left you, this burden has left you, and gratitude. Very hard to be in gratitude when you're suffering. So, and the internal critic that we all have will be hard to hear, and if you hear it at all, and so you have to continually release and let it go. This is healing through your wounds and the inner child, and the inner child is often related to this. I tried to come up with another. There isn't any. Don't know what other words. Little Sue, little Kerry, That's the only other words I can have. But you'll become more. You'll be closer to your truer nature, and that is a kind, loving, and a magnificent human being. We don't spend enough time with our inner child, and there are wounds that are very deep from our childhood and young life that have never been addressed to heal. So they keep trying to get our attention, and we dismiss him or her, we berate, criticise and inflict incredible violence and brutality on ourselves, and we express these wounds in our adult life. And because of this, we are confused, and in times of emotional upheaval, we are irrational, unrealistic, and even self-absorbed. So Chiron is also associated with Virgo, and Chiron is known as the wounded healer. And we heal ourselves through our wounds. And how we actually can heal, and it becomes obvious to us, these wounds that we have are through our karmic mates. So anybody you have an issue with, and and other people who trigger these issues, bringing them to the surface for us to face and deal with for our evolutionary purpose.
When you spoke about how one of the attributes of Virgo is that it seeks to serve, why is that?
What a profound question. I suppose the best way I can answer that is that it is our true nature to want to help, to give, to serve. In astrology, Virgo rules the 6th house of employment. And this is where we serve the community through our job or through our work. Virgo is also known as the healer of the zodiac, and healing our own wounds, our own, dark side or shadow side, we can help others heal theirs because we've had that experience. We can understand the pain and suffering that goes with that. And it's natural for us to do this. I mean, you see it. If somebody is upset or somebody needs help, somebody will come to them, and we go to those people to help comfort them. So we see the most the violence, the cruelty and injustice on others, the animals and our planet, and this invokes feelings of compassion and love that connects us to all these living things, and this is our true nature. Now, I could tell you a little story here. Would you like me to tell you? Okay. This is, I think if whoever's listening, if we can hopefully give them the experience of feeling this, that will really explain it. So Greg Braden, he tells a story of this school, and the school it's a school for Down syndrome kids. Anyway, they have an athletic carnival, and they have to just race to the end of the line. Anyway, the gun goes off. They start their race and one little boy falls over. Anyway, one of them looks back and he sees this little boy and he goes back to help him, and he helps him up. He's got blood on his knee, he's wiping his knee. Anyway, as they're running, another one sees them, and then another one, and they're all back there. None of them are finishing this race, and they all put their arms around each other and all proceed to the finish line. So, when I first heard this, it just I mean, you feel that a feeling can really well up in you from your heart, and that's what connects us all. And that, I suppose, is the best way to explain it.
Yeah, I love that. Wonderful, thank you. Over the years, you've often talked about a star sign, and then you would say, but the counterbalance of that star sign is another star sign. And it was made clear to me when we did our podcasts for the financial literacy classes that we do, how important it is to have that balancing sign. So what's the relationship between Virgo, which is the Virgo full moon, and, wait for it, the Pisces sun? I know. I've got it.
Okay, so all the planets' signs, they're all related to each other. Okay. So, but in a full phase, and we can have a full phase between two planets or a planet and a point, and I won't go into that because we don't have enough time. But the relationship in the full phase is the opposition. And you have the relationship is that the sun is completely illuminating the moon, and the energy of the sun expresses outwardly. Pisces energy goes inward. Virgo energy goes inward. The moon's energy goes inward. And what the how these two signs work together, these pair, is that they help us find that counterbalance point. They keep us on an even keel. So Pisces provides many things to Virgo and vice versa. So Pisces counterbalances Virgo from, let's say on the shadow side, from mental torment of overanalyzing, tearing yourself to shreds in a perception of lack in some way. So Pisces is unconditional love and helps unravel this toxicity of self-criticism to absolute self-acceptance. And this is a thing that we have to keep ongoing. And, you know, Byron Katie is a way of doing it. Buddhism is another way of doing it. I call Virgo her because she is the feminine principle. Has nothing to do with gender. The feminine principle is a nurturing, including, sharing, cooperating energy. The male principle is the excluding, dominating, in its distortion that is, excluding principle. Again, and men have just as much feminine principle as women have male principle. So we learn to love ourselves unconditionally through acceptance. And that's the first thing you have to do. You have to accept yourself as you are. You have to. You know, you can fight it if you want to, but again, you're going to go into suffering. It inspires us to connect with something higher. The spiritual, the greater forces that are behind life. So Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, it's about completions and endings. And it helps us to unravel, to release, to let go, to dissolve away what burdens us, to be free, to commence a new cycle of growth, development and evolution. We cannot move forward while we carry these burdens.
Yes, I love it.
Does that help you understand?
Everything that you say helps me. I love that. I love that. I just want to talk a bit more about the moon then, how the full moon is fully illuminated.
Yeah.
Women are naturally drawn to the science and folklore surrounding the reflective rock we call the moon. Maybe it's because women share the same cycle days as the moon, or perhaps it's the sixth sense of knowing our ancient past and how much we as humans relied on her light during the dark hours of the night. Maybe that's why women have a special affinity with the moon. So what's your beliefs around the full moon and the power to illuminate the star signs' energies, all star signs' energies? What do you believe around that? Are you a scientist or are you a folklorist?
Well, a bit of both, actually. Now that I understand more, and I'd never say I knew it all, because the more I find out, the more there is to find out. It just keeps going on and on. But how I look at it now is that you know, astrology is cycles. There's always a beginning and an ending, and something has to end to begin. And it's always a consistent way of taking yourself on this ascension process of evolution, because that's what we're on. And what it means to me is that I don't actually even have to look outside of a nighttime, because as everybody does, sometimes when we have these full moons, I'll feel it more than others. And as you do, as we all do, and it depends what's being triggered in your chart. But essentially, the full moon to me is a reminder to, okay, whatever it is, time to let it go. And I've had some, speaking personally, and I'm sorry to talk about myself, but that's a lie, I'm not sorry at all. No, but just to say is that some things I've wanted to hang on to, but I've had to let them go because I know the suffering of being attached to And you just got to let it go. And once you let it go, it's amazing what comes in.
Yes. Let's move on to the menstrual cycle. Okay. That information was amazing. And before I move on, listener, if you would love to get in touch with Kerry, she offers a free service where you can get a birth chart and a little mini report around it. She comes from a company called Astrology Within You, and I'll have it tagged. So please, if you haven't already got your chart, your birth chart, go and get it from her. It's wonderful. When we talk about the menstrual cycle, I like to bring in aspects of what Virgo medically rules. Pancreas, small intestine, digestion. Anything else?
That's about all, generally speaking. Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a look at week 1 in that context. So this week during your menses, so week 1 is all about a woman getting her period. It's most likely you are taking it easy and not exercising. And there's no scientific reason why you should skip out on workouts. I remember my mum telling me, you have your period, just rest. Rest, take it easy. Here's a little water bottle. It was beautiful, wonderful. But really, there's science around the fact that moving the body, not aggressively, but moving it during menses is actually better for it. So there's no excuses, my lovelies, to continue with exercise. So perhaps back off on the intensity, especially if you're feeling fatigue. And because Virgo rules the digestion system, perhaps incorporate a few yoga poses in your workout. Now, if you're not a yogi and you've never done any yoga before, I would suggest you perhaps go on the YouTube and Google some of these poses. Incorporate them during this week. Seated side bend, a seated twist, a supine spinal twist, knees to the chest, cat-cow, which I just love, cobra pose, bow pose, and a belly twist. In the blog, I'll have the Indian name for it as well. Unfortunately, I will butcher the names of the Indian names, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But I've done all of these wonderful poses. Well, I haven't had a period for like nearly 10 years. I won't be doing it through that. But if I have some digestive issues, these poses will really support you if you have some digestive issues. So if you're in menopause and you don't have your period anymore, then yes, these are fantastic.
Because we sit for so long. We sit at our job, a lot of us. We don't stretch out our bodies.
So if you're feeling during this full moon in Virgo that your digestive system is a little bit sluggish, then try this. So week 2. So considering Virgo medically rules the pancreas, let's explore this further. The pancreas is part of the digestive system. It secretes pancreatic juice. I mean, I know that sounds a little bit, it's basically enzymes, okay, which directly assist with digestion by absorbing nutrients in the small intestine. This organ is located behind the stomach and produces hormones that circulate throughout the blood. The health of this organ is very important because I can never say this word. Pancreatitis.
Okay.
Pancreatitis. Do you ever do that when you're starting to go into a podcast and you actually have to rehearse for a word? Well, I've just rehearsed
definitely.
it. Pancreatitis. It can be fatal if not treated quickly. It is a serious illness that is often associated with severe abdominal pains. There's another word. There's a link to an article, a science article, which I've linked in the blog for you, listener, if you would like to take that further. During your second week, the hormone estrogen is dominant, and this is the time where your body feels wonderful. Although personal circumstances will dictate your emotional state, your body should not be adding to your woes. Rather, it should be supporting you. So if your body is not feeling optimal and symptoms arise that resemble more like a period during this week, you might like to examine your pancreas health. Hereditary substance abuse include alcohol and caffeine. All are contributors. So serve your body this week by observing and acting. So observation. Now this is what we've been talking about previously in our podcast about how we suffer when we enter into the thought process of when we're feeling something in our body. So I'm not talking about suffering through illness. You need to observe your body and going, you know what, this week I should be full of joy and happiness because the hormone estrogen is high leading up to day 14, which is ovulation. And if you're not, then perhaps you might have a life situation which is causing you sadness. Fair enough. But if you've got some physical ailments, absolutely get out there and check it out and go to the doctors and see what's happening. What do you reckon, Kez?
I reckon that sounds pretty good. And it's interesting that Virgo too, it keeps what's useful and discards what's of no use to it or not beneficial to it. And the mind, we also have to digest our emotions as well. So,
I love that. Yes.
And that's not something we do instantaneously. That takes time, and it gives us that space to go into that analysing what Virgo does.
Yes.
And it says, well, at some point you do realise that, you think, well, I'm not doing that anymore. I can't do that anymore. I cannot do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's detrimental. I'm selling my soul, or I'm prostituting myself, or what is it? And it's detrimental to you.
I've got a quote which I'd like to share with you, and I'd love your opinion. It's from Limnotta. I think she's an artist. Anyway, this is what she says. Because the theme of my blog is perfectionism.
Right. Well,
through the full moon in Virgo.
Okay.
But this quote from Limnotta is really interesting. Perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor, the enemy of the people. It will keep you cramped and insane your whole life, and it is the main obstacle between you and a shitty first draft. I think perfectionism is based on the obsessive belief that if you run carefully enough, hitting each stepping stone just right, you won't have to die. The truth is, isn't it great? The truth is that you will die anyway, and that a lot of people who aren't even looking at their feet are going to do a whole lot better than you and have a lot more fun while doing it.
That's so true.
Isn't that perfect for this time?
It is. How wonderful. What a great way to put it.
Yeah. So perfectionism is not good.
No, because it's unattainable.
Unattainable.
You cannot be compared to anybody. And that's what the Virgo energy, or the archetype, the pattern of Virgo is always adjusting, fine-tuning. I mean, if you're in the car and you can't get that radio station, do they still... I don't know if they have knobs anymore, but you're you're tuning in. You're tuning into that, and it frees you up because you think. I mean, I've told that story before. When we were in our 20s, Elle Macpherson was a big deal, and she would come out of the surf and she'd just shake her head and a long hair. Well, not me. Oh no, I couldn't stand up because I'd get knocked over by a wave.
Yes.
My hair would go to one side. My swimmers would fill up with sand, or I'd get dumped or something. So
it's the illusion of beauty in that respect.
Well, that's the spellcasters of advertising too.
Yeah. Moving on to week 3. So the modality of Virgo is adaptability with the ability to adjust to change.
Absolutely.
You're
wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. My ego just got a bit of a boost. So if you are experiencing your week 3 during this full moon phase, then you are in a perfect position to ride the dip of the roller coaster at the beginning of this week. Ovulation at day 14 is a transition from the hormone estrogen to progesterone. The dip I refer to is the time it takes for one hormone to leave and the other to rise. When you are expecting the dip, you're more likely to not have an emotional attachment to the feeling your body will give out to you. You will make the change with much more ease and grace, and just like the Virgo energy, you will be more flexible and amenable. Is that the word? Amiable.
Okay.
Amiable.
It's your word. That's important.
This week you will feel like slowing down because progesterone is a sedative-like hormone and allows you to rest and allows you to take the load off. The body is building a beautiful uterine lining for any potential fertilized egg, creating a nest, if you will. Enjoy this hormone, relish in its comfort, and try to maintain optimal levels of progesterone until your period arrives, as this will stay the onset of any PMS symptoms. Kerry?
Yes, Sue.
Have you anything to add? Were you even listening?
I was
You're looking at my chart.
I was looking at your
I can
chart.
See, yes, I'm interested to hear. Yeah. So let's move on to week 4. If you're unable to sustain optimal progesterone levels during the third phase of your cycle, which is week 3, then PMS will most likely come about. 2 common symptoms during this time are depression and inflammation. I'm not talking about clinical depression, whereby you've seen a doctor and have been prescribed medication for a chemical imbalance. I'm referring to the accumulative everyday depression that has swept the globe during the past 2 years. The inflammation I'm referring to is a general discomfort when you do not move, feed, or hydrate the body to its optimal levels. If we don't maintain our body and if we don't maintain our mind, depression and inflammation can creep in. So I invite you to come and listen with me to a beautiful meditation that is on the Moon and You app. As you listen to the piano and the guided meditation, breathe deeply and focus on sending love and light to those areas of your body that are in pain. And the meditation is called This Moment.
That's all we have.
That's a good title for Virgo, I think.
It is, and because it's very detailed. So it likes the details of things. And the moment that's all we have.
Yes.
We don't even know if we're going to make it to the end of the day.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Don't know.
Living in the moment is something that I've been trying to do for a long time. Because I've been in business for so long, I always have to forecast.
You do.
Like, how am I going to pay next week's bills?
That's right.
Next month's bills? You know, how am I going to my retirement? Forecasting. It's been a habit. And it becomes a habit. And so for me, what I'm trying to do is, this is why I created the budget, the free financial course, the budgeting on the new moon, because once you set a budget, you go, okay, you're pretty safe then because you know how much you have to get. If you have a job or a career with a set amount of money coming in, you can budget towards that. But if you're in business, like you and me, Kerry, that sometimes can cause a lot of stress. So to all the listeners who are in business, this is for you today. We know you, we hear you, we feel you. But just for this moment, as you listen to this, the end of the podcast, just to realise that sometimes you can stop forecasting into the future and just sit and be here in the moment with us. Please take your time to listen to the meditation. Ensure you have a nice seat, and we will see you on the next full moon. Kerry and I will see you on the next full moon. So take care. We love you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
This moment is for you. Close your eyes. Relax your body. Tune in to your natural breath. Bring your awareness to your body, to your mind. Acknowledge anywhere you feel tight throughout your body. a relaxing breath and breathe out all tension. Allow the busyness of your thoughts to simply pass on through your mind. There is nothing you can do about these distracting thoughts right now. Simply observe them with detachment and allow them to move on. Tuning back into your breath, allow it to slow and deepen. Concentrating on drawing your breath deep into your belly. With that deep breath, feel the slowing of your mind, the deceleration of your thoughts, allowing you to become your breath. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, your belly, with each breath. Imagine a sense of calmness rolling through your body with each exhale. Fully appreciate each breath that you take and allow it to penetrate every cell of your body. With each inhale, your body is feeling more and more relaxed. Your heart rate slows. Your breath is slowing, and your thoughts become calm. It's almost as though you're enveloped in a cloud of serenity, allowing the stresses and the drains of the day to float away. Continue to enjoy the sense of harmony around you. Bring your focus to the flow of your breath. Create a rhythm with your breath. Inhale to the count of 2 and exhale to the count of 2. Steady, even breaths at your own pace. Continue this for a few cycles. Now increase the breaths to 3, both on your inhale and your exhale, continuing for a few cycles. Feeling the deep relaxation within you through the calming of your breath. Slowly bring your awareness back to your physical surroundings. Wriggle your fingers and your toes, stretching out your body as it needs, and smiling brightly as you open your eyes.